Hey, hey, hey. Time for another Out of This World story from rSpace. You can't just kiss it and make it better when the damage is already done. Today on rSpace, it's time to cut your losses. Up first, dogs know more than we give them credit for. How I Ruined a Marriage. I know the title sounds weird, but hear me out. Okay, this event took place before the pandemic. I had worked at this job at least 6 years before I finally left its toxic environment. Yet, I got along with just about all of my coworkers. I also, won't lie, live with my mom, which I will only say this is because of a couple of things. My stepdad passed away from lung cancer in 2018, having passed 7 months after he was diagnosed. In 2019, she and I got the house we currently live in. Now, when this event took place, I worked nights at my job at the time. I would normally be home around 6 a.m. due to not driving at the time, and it was too cold for me to use my e-bike, so I would get rides from coworkers or bike depending on the weather. This is also Canada, so it can get cold. My asthma makes it hard to bike in cold weather. This was my first day off, so I was hoping to just relax and just sleep. Though that wasn't meant to happen, it seemed as I was woken up by some sound above me. I live in the basement at my house, and it's a finished basement, and my bedroom is under the living room of the house. But I chalked it up to my mom watching TV. So I get out of bed and go to grab my mom's bedding that was in the dryer. As I was getting up the stairs and open the door, that was when I see the dog. Another thing I should point out, the dog, Buddy, was my stepdad's dog, who, as he would call Buddy, was his furry son. This dog kept my mom sane when my stepdad passed away and was always comforted by this dog in everything that came into her life. We had Buddy 3 years after my stepdad passed before he was diagnosed with lung cancer like my stepdad. We still miss this dog. Now, it was strange for me to see the dog in the kitchen. Basement door leads to the kitchen instead of the living room or my mom's room. He was practically glued to my mom's side. So I asked, "What are you doing out here, Buddy?" He was just wagging his tail at me. So I go toward the living room and saw that the door was shut. Again, that confuses me, so I just mentally shrug and open the door. "Hey Mom, I'm bringing up your..." I stopped when I see a very familiar face on the couch with my mom. "Oh, OP, this is..." "I know who he is, Mom," I said. It wasn't clicking in for me as to what was going on. Because again, I just woke up from doing a close and didn't really get a hell of a lot of sleep. "How do you know him?" she asked. The guy's eyes were wide-eyed since I walked into the living room. "I work with his wife." Mom is in confusion and kind of leans back a little looking at the man, asking, "Your ex-wife?" She seemed a little skeptical. Before he could even answer, I said, "No, his current wife." Insert coworker's name. Mom, of course, is in shock, and again I don't clue in as to what was going on. Just talking as I walk further into the living room with her bedding and set it on a chair. I pet Buddy and make sure he goes outside to do his thing, and then I go back to my living room in the basement. The guy was kicked out a while later, though beforehand he had begged my mom to tell me not to tell his wife about this because she's possessive. So for months, I kept my mouth shut, though that wasn't the only thing she told me. She had told me that the reason why Buddy was kept out of the living room was because the moment this guy, let's call him Jay, walked into the house, Buddy actually growled at him. This dog, who loves everyone he meets, growled at someone. That alone shocked me when my mom told me this. Well, that, and it turns out that Jay also knew my mom's cousin and her cousin's husband. They went to high school together. Only found that out when Mom mentioned that was part of their conversation before I came up the stairs. When Mom also told me that he was there because they met on Tinder and that this was a date, oh how I wished that I knew sooner. I would have kicked his butt out the door myself. Because if there was one thing that I hated, it was cheaters. My mom had been cheated on before and she hates them, so she was thankful that I came up when I did. There is still more to this story. As I said, I had kept my mouth shut for months and not telling my coworker. Let's call her L. Well, months after this date happened, I was working with her. As we worked, I had heard her say that she was being kicked out of her own townhouse. I was confused and asked what happened. L told some of us that Jay tried to overdose and she had managed to get help in time to save him. So she had pretty much saved his life. Yet, how does he repay her? By trying to get her kicked out of the house. So when I heard that, I'm just like, screw this, no repercussions. Then I told her everything that happened, how he met my mom, to him being at my house, to when I came up, everything. When I was done, She just stared at me, a mix of shock as well as, well, I'm not really sure what the other look was, but she looked like this had happened before, which she confirmed. Turns out, Jay cheated on her throughout their entire marriage. They have 5 kids. Her oldest is at least 20s or 30s. I don't remember. Also, he was the possessive one, not Elle. Whenever they separated, he was always allowed to see other people, but not her, and made dang sure of it. Once she had everything I told her, she had finally been pushed because with what I told her, it seemed that it was far worse than what he's done in the past. Their marriage was just toxic from what I learned later on. Not just with destroying her property, such as her phone, but he hacked into her Facebook to make posts. I don't know all the details, but what I do know is that there is now a restraining order against him. He even tried to tear her down by saying that no man would want her because she was used and old. Mind you, she isn't old, she's still young and has a lot of life in her. Then told her that she's too old to get into a union job. But she proved him wrong on all accounts. Got herself a good man, got a good paying job now, and she even lost weight. Hell, she's doing a damn good job living her life right now. But there was one thing that I had asked her after I told her everything. Elle, you said I look just like my mom, right? I had asked. She said, yes, you do. I had posted pics of me with my mom's Facebook from my mom's 50th birthday, and Elle had commented just how much my mom and I look alike. I'm her clone, to say the least. Her husband had met me many times in the past because he would sometimes bring Elle coffee or bring her the debit card that she forgot. So how is it that your husband didn't even notice how much I looked like my mom when he met her? I asked. Her words? I can't help but smile at the thought of such a thing. Because he's a freaking idiot. I laughed a little at that. Even their son, who also worked with us, told me that his dad isn't the smart or bright one. So you can tell that it had to be true if his own wife, now ex-wife, and son tell me the same thing. When I had even told Elle how he knew my mom's cousin, her husband, Elle had told me that it was most likely that he would have tried to get lucky with her as well, though that wasn't going to happen anyway because my mom's cousin is still very much in love with her husband, high school sweethearts. So this guy tried to get lucky, only for it to ruin his marriage. Karma in its finest. But I still wished I had said something to her sooner. I won't lie, that is my only regret with this. But I'm at least happy that she got out of that toxic marriage, now living her best life without that jack-off. Dogs don't lie, man. They can sniff out the BS. It's crazy how people like him can ruin everything in their lives but somehow not learn a dang thing. This guy sounds like a class act. But on the bright side, it's great that Elle found her way out and is living her best life now. She deserves so much better than him, and it sounds like she's finally getting the happiness she's worked so hard for. Karma truly does have a way of catching up with people. Share your similar stories with us in the comments below. Sometimes, counseling is the emotional equivalent of putting a band-aid over a bullet wound. Am I the a-hole for waiting 6 months to divorce? Throwaway account. I've been lurking here for a while, but finally decided to share my story. I, 34 male, recently went through something that's left me questioning everything, and I really need some outside perspective. 6 months ago, my wife, 32 female, and I had a huge argument. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary, just the usual stress from work and life piling up. That night, I tried calling her multiple times, but she never picked up. I ended up falling asleep on the couch, worried sick, imagining all sorts of things. The next morning, she came home with tears streaming down her face. She sat me down and confessed that she had slept with my best friend. She didn't spare any details when I asked her questions, and her honesty was brutal. She told me he was better, that she felt touched and like a woman again. I had read that people would trickle truth, but she just spit it all out. She said she regretted it not because it wasn't good, but because it wasn't with me, and she hated who she became in that moment. I was so devastated and just immediately asked for a divorce. She broke down, begging me not to end things, swearing to do whatever it took to make things right. In my shock and confusion, I gave in to her seduction. To this day, I can't believe I did that right when she came back from him. From that point on, she did everything I asked and more. She put a GPS on her car, downloaded Life 360, carried a voice recorder in her purse, and video called me every hour of the day. She gave me full access to her phone. Every time my ex-best friend or any guy tried to reach out, she blocked them without hesitation after she screenshotted and sent me who it was. She was doing everything right, In couples counseling, she would correct the counselor if they shifted any blame onto me, making it clear it was all her fault. Come to find out, she cheated on her husband as well. She promised never to let temptation overcome her again. She kept telling me I was better in bed now, even better than my ex-best friend. But instead of making me feel good, it made me feel awful. I hated myself, so I started working out, getting in shape, and it only made her want more sex, and tried to enjoy it, thinking it would make things better. We tried to move forward. She showered me with affection, cooked my favorite meals, planned surprise dates, and left me little love notes around the house. Our friends and family thought we were stronger for it. Her parents and my parents begged me to stay, saying it was just a one-time drunken F-up. But I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. Every time she kissed me, I wondered if she was thinking about him. Every time she made love, I questioned if she was comparing us. She was. 6 months had passed, and last night, she asked if she could go to a party with her friends. She'd been so good, video calling me every 30 minutes to show she was with her friends, but in my head I couldn't shake the feeling that she was still cheating, even though there was no evidence. The final time, as she was video calling to show she was getting in the car, I asked her for a divorce. She rushed home, asking why. I told her I was grateful for her progress, but felt she wasn't truly sorry. She just didn't want to lose me. I don't know if that's the truth, but it's what I believe. So here I am, feeling like a monster for wanting to end it after she's worked so hard to fix things. She's been nothing but devoted and sincere in her efforts to make amends. Yet I can't get over the image of her with my best friend, the pain of her betrayal. Every time I close my eyes, I see them together, and it tears me apart. All I think about is him and her. We were supposed to be only with each other, and she ruined that, and I never processed it, and just caved in not even 24 hours later. The only thing I feel wrong about is waiting 6 months to come to this conclusion. I feel so lost and conflicted. I don't know if I'm punishing her or trying to save myself. Maybe this will all blow over and I'll just settle down, but I saw him the other day and it just screwed me. I hate my life. Let's see what the community has to say. This is the exact reason people generally advise not to take back a cheater. You need a short-term memory for it to work. I must say the fact it was your best friend is particularly vindictive. How did that come about? Did she pick a person who would hurt you the most? What was the fallout with your friend group, etc.? All in all, it sounds like she did all the right things, post-cheating obviously. The problem is it isn't enough, is it? You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube and all that. Ultimately, you have two options. Move on, or look into therapy to see if you can ever accept what she did. I would pick the former, but given how regretful and hardworking she's been, see what works best for you. Maybe it was a one-night stand with a stranger. With therapy, I could accept it, but ultimately my principles wouldn't let me. A best friend would be a killer. No matter how much she tries, you're never going to be able to erase the image of her doing the dirty with your best friend, the guy you trusted, who you thought would have your back. Except apparently, he was too busy having her back. You're not punishing her, you're protecting yourself from a lifetime of wondering who's next. As for that one-time drunken mistake argument, let's be real, cheating's not a mistake. It's an intentional act that involves no one tripping over a rug or accidentally falling into someone else's bed. If you've got a nagging feeling in your gut, trust it. Your intuition isn't broken. Have you ever wished you ended things sooner? Let us know below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.